What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the Bulletproof Dental Practice Podcast. And today it's Peter and we're joined with Dr. Amir Mansouri is a PhD in engineering. I don't want to cheat out the doctor.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure your family be very proud of Dr. Amir. I know, I presume you're Persian, and that's a very high-ranking thing to be a Persian doctor, correct? That's a very big deal.
When I finished my PhD, go ahead. I jumped into it.
No, please. I want to hear what you were going to say to that.
When I finished my PhD, I called my mom and said, I'm starting this company. And she was like, are you going to do postdoc? I'm like, Mom, I'm going to frame the degree, send it to you. You even know what postdoc is? But
yeah, well, listen, I have a lot of good Persian friends, and I know that education is such a valuable tenet of that culture, and no wonder why a person like you with a background like you has gone in and co-founded a company like SprintRay. So what I like to think of, you're a co-founder of SprintRay, and I look at SprintRay of like the cool kid of the 3D printing, because 3D printing is for geeks. And the SprintRay is like the cool version of it. You got good swag, you got good events, your products have an elegance to them. And I just want to dive into all things like, as Pete was saying before we hit record, where is the puck going? Because, at one point in an inflection point of dentistry, it was like really cool if you had this or that. And eventually it becomes standard of care. So I want to look at the landscape now with like 10 or 15% of the US market having a 3D printer, to what happens in like 3 years when you're like left behind when you don't have this type of technology. So if you don't mind, to get right into it, how did you stumble upon becoming a 3D dental printing person? How did this happen?
Absolutely. It was never, it was meant to be, but I never planned it. My PhD was in 3D printing. That's how I got into 3D printing. My undergrad was mechanical engineering, and I did robotics for my master's, and PhD was similar robotics. So I was very entrepreneurial at school, and I knew I was going to do something with 3D printing. That's the only thing I knew. So right after the PhD, we put our technology on Kickstarter, and we sold about 250 units on the Kickstarter campaign. Percentage of those were dental labs, and that's how we kind of got introduced to the dental world. One of our pretty much our first ever dental customer was Glidewell, and we're in LA. Glidewell is about 40 miles, down south. I looked them up and I said, "Oh, dental lab, they're big." So I was told they were big. So I went there. I was just amazed with the scale of the operations of a dental lab. That was the first ever dental lab I visited. That's how we kind of little by little progression got into dentistry. In 2017, we had a decision to make whether we want to be like this other 3D printing company, like many other that they work with jewelers, they work with character designers, they work with engineers, because the printing industry is very small as an industry, and a lot of companies, to survive, they had to cater to many, many different verticals. So we said, you know what, we just want to carve out this niche and become the best at it. And we don't want to develop products for other industries. That's probably the best decision we made in 2017, to shut down any non-dental related R&D, non-dental related marketing, and focus on the dental industry. That's how we got into it. And the more we worked, the more it worked. And the more it worked, the more we got excited, and it started to develop more and more the software, and then material came. Peter, you alluded to material being the most important thing. We can open that topic. Absolutely. And all of a sudden, 3-4 years after, all of our R&D, all of our people were just every day working on how to make dental 3D printing. As you said, it's for geeks. It's complicated. How do we ungeek it? How do we make it simpler? How do we make sure that dental assistants can use it? How do we make sure the material lasts? How do we make sure the hardware is also cool? You guys can put it in front of the practice to use it for marketing, and we see that happening every single day. So this is a quick story of SprintRay and how we are where we are.
Yeah, well, you did a good job. I mean, with all those challenges that you were thinking about, like how do you make it cool? How do you make the user interface And how do you make it forward facing? The dental technology is different from regular technology in that we want to highlight it as dentists. So whether you have a scanner on wheels or you have an in-office mill, they're designed in such a way that you want to highlight to the patient what you're doing. So kudos to you guys for doing that. That's what I noticed originally when I first heard of SprintRay. I could see the elegance of the design, and having a Midas in my office. And Pete, I don't know if you know this, but I have the Midas, and the Midas is that super fast version of a printer. You can print in a capsule, so you can actually do a restoration in like less than 10 minutes, and you can do 3 at the same time even. So it's just like that design itself is really cool.
So Amir, let's back up just a second, because I think I told you we have a kind of a commercial lab just for my group, but it's big. It's got all your equipment everywhere. And Craig, I don't know if I have the Midas or not, but let's talk to the people who are sitting here thinking like, yeah, I've been thinking about it, and I think the 3D printing when it came on the market, Amir, you tell me if I'm wrong, but it's very nuanced. It was for the outliers, for the people who were really
it's a DIY
technology forward dentist. And it was like, oh, it's fancy, but does the rubber meet the road economically? And am I going to be able to, should I jump in? And so I've put that time period maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Can you talk about, obviously now it's evolved, materials have evolved. Can you talk about why someone should get off of zero and get their head up out of the sand and get a printer in their office? And what would be the gateway procedure, I should say, drug procedure that they would start with? I know there was a lot of questions there, but I want to address the people who are sitting there on the fence of like, should I get one? Does this make economical sense, et cetera?
Absolutely. So I think the gateway is the iOS at this point still. I mean, we can't work with people without an iOS, and you have to have an iOS to be relevant in the digital world. And if you haven't,
what do you mean iOS?
from the
Apple?
0.0,
what do you mean
intraoral
iOS?
Scanner, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Intraoral scanner. Yeah.
I don't know that either. I'm like, wow, you're have a license deal with Apple. That's pretty cool.
That's cool. Yeah.
So if you don't have an intraoral scanner, I think you're gonna get this thing. There's no doubt about it.
Well, let's talk about statistics. What percentage of U.S. practices have an intraoral scanner? Do you know that?
At this point, what do you think? Do you guys know how many?
Well, I would guess
a number
40%.
No, it's not. 40%. It's not, Peter.
Of the U.S.
I don't think so. I'm going to go with 25%.
Okay. When I started in 2017 in dentistry, it was 30%.
Okay, got it.
So the people who had scanners were getting their second and third. No, this is 2017. Right now is over 60%.
No way.
Right now, and I think we witnessed the past 5 years really skyrocketed. As you said, the prices got cheaper, the scanners got easier to use, and still 40% of this industry are pouring, stone and alginate to essentially send the impression to the dental lab. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, for you guys are doing it so archaic, right? To look at and think about it, but it's happening. 40%, 4 out of every 10 dentists don't have it. That's just the scanner. We're not talking about scanners today. If you have a scanner, if you happen to be part of that 60% of the industry, and I'm sure your audience are, that are essentially bought into the digital, they understand digital records are better than pouring stone. Printer comes next as a super easy way to justify the ROI on the entire investment. It's a tool that you don't use it for every procedure, but if you want to use it every day, you can. And the gateway to me is the night guard, is the easiest to use, is the lowest risk to the patients, to the doctors, to your practice procedure. And your marginal cost will go so much down to $5-6 of material cost to do a night guard once you have a scanner and printer, that you can just, people get creative. They use it as a practice builder. They use it every hygiene appointment. If you come back next time and do so and so and so, you get an extra night guard. I give you warranty on it. We also did a pretty good job of AIing the workflow. So it's so easy to just import your iOS, get your design printed in 30 minutes, a little bit of polishing, good to go. And I think if they're not doing it at this point, they're going to be in disadvantage compared to their peers competing locally, that they do have this technology.
Okay. So can you really quickly, just because I like where you're headed, because I actually want to know this for my own self. So let's say it would be night guards. All right, I've got it. I've mastered night guards. Then what would you recommend in the evolution?
Right. So if you're placing implant, I mean, you need a surgical guide.
Surgical guides.
That's just, you have to do it. It's better, faster, more, peace of mind. I would definitely add that. Then I get into more and more restorative side of things. I start playing with temporaries. I start playing with partial coverage. I start doing things that, again, to help me learn a little bit more preservative dentistry, conservative dentistry that's happening essentially all over the world. And I'm not talking about biomimetics and those kind of movement. It's just, if you can preserve a tooth, preserve the tooth. I think these are the things that little by little we train people to go from a night guard to surgical guide. Maybe here and there, if you have a patient broke a denture, you can replicate it easily in the office. But then restorative is pretty much the indication that you start to see a lot of ROI. You start to see a lot of patient satisfaction. Start to do same-day dentistry that a lot of patients, as a patient, I'm a busy guy. I don't want to keep going back. I definitely go to a doctor who can, get me going in a single visit. I think that is pretty much the progression we see in the industry.
Yeah, the rate limiting step, Amir, and we talk about this often on the podcast, is that the dentist does not believe. We talk at our summits and in our content that the most important thing to the patient is not just the dentistry, but the experience itself. And the dentists are quite cavalier in the fact that they say things like, the 40% that don't have an iOS, an intraoral scanner or a printer, they say things like, well, my patients really don't care. They don't care coming back a second visit. It's not, and the thing is, they don't care until they find another dentist that they don't have to do that, and then they leave you. So there's a saying, things happen very slowly until they're sudden. So to that 40% that may be listening, or that you have a friend that doesn't have an iOS, intraoral scanner or the printer or same day dentistry capability, it won't be long, but you'll find yourself completely obsoleted. And it's, if you've decided to open up your own practice, and if you're listening to this podcast, it's likely that you have decided to become your own practice owner or business owner. You need to stay relevant. And it's like, I just don't understand how dentists are so cavalier to think that, well, they just come for me and they like Becky, my hygienist, and I don't need to adopt this stuff. It's interesting to me that they don't think this way. Yeah, they don't think of themselves.
They don't care until they do. And that happens with any industry. Yeah. The moment, and today with social media, the doctors who are doing a great job of showing their tech, showing the iOS, they're going to get more patients. I know local doctors that are getting 100% of their patients through social media. And they love it or hate it. It's happening. All right. It's a matter of they want to be part of this or not.
Where is the science for definitive restorations now with 3D printed restorations? I don't know, because I don't stay current on this, quite honestly, in full disclosure. Right. So where are we on that?
Well, maybe I tell you a story to get to that. In 2022, we started to talk about restorations, and we just saw that that's the direction that the whole thing was going. These technologies are getting easier and easier, and operating it, and just the whole thing makes sense. Bring the whole promise of same-day dentistry to the restorative is its own single thing that every dentist do, and every dentist care. But little we knew that the whole science of material science is going to be the biggest burden. And we naively, maybe at the beginning, 2021, 2022, jumped into this. Like, let's go. Let's go deliver printed restorations. But I think the journey was humbling that, all right, there's a lot more into that. That just here's the material works. You need to back it with a lot of science. You need to back it with clinical trials. You need to back it with years of data. That some dentists want to see 5 years. Show me your 10-year data. So I believe this works. So this is something, again, we're in the third or fourth years of really experiencing it firsthand, that is hard. And then a lot of horror stories of so and so happened, that material didn't work, and a lot of them were coming up. There
Targus
was a
vectris.
lot of lawsuits going on. Yeah,
Lava.
yeah,
Oh
exactly.
yeah,
That's
we are
the
the beta.
single
Unfortunately, we're the
word
beta
that
testers for
you
everything.
don't want to be lava.
Our patients
I
are
think
the
everyone
beta.
told me that.
Yeah,
So
or Targus
that
vectris, but
journey
that's probably
again.
I'm probably aging myself there, but like how many of those
Lava,
did you have to cut off, Craig?
Oh my God, I did lava crowns on people that everyone on this podcast knows, and I had to like eat kind of crap sandwiches. I told them this is the best stuff. You know, my rep told me it's amazing. It's going to be great. The problem is in bleeding edge dentistry, it's the patient and the doctors who really do the beta testing and the R&D. You get something out, and the dentists are the one that are doing the beta test on real human trials that people are paying us for. So it's unfortunate, but so tell me, where are you at right now with the restorations? And so you said humbling. Are you reaching a point where you retraced, or are you refining the offering? Tell me where we're at with SprintRay and its restoration capabilities.
So we're at our third generation of restorative material today, and that's really enabled by Midas. I mean, the whole Midas was born from idea that we want to pack more ceramics into these composites. We need these ceramics, printed ceramics, which are composite, to be definitive, to last, not to wear for 5, 6, 7 years, to have a pretty good color stability. To achieve that, we needed more ceramics into the mix, and also for that we invented Midas. So that's another thing. Sometimes I think about it. If we didn't focus in 2017 in dentistry, if we really didn't decide to do it in 2022 on restorative dentistry, Midas wasn't born today. And this is a result of focus in one industry and focus in one indication. Like two focus coming together, and Midas was born. So with Midas, for the first time, we were able to pack a lot of ceramics into it. Really achieve properties that we could not achieve before with 3D printing. That's what it really excited our engineers and our clinical community, that we launched a brand new printer digital press that only does one thing, but essentially does that one thing really, really well. It's much easier for the dental practice. You work with it correct. It's like an espresso machine. You grab a pod, you put it in the machine, you press the button, and then you come back 10 minutes. Every restoration is sub 10 minutes. And good to go. You get it out, clean it, polish it, place it. I think the whole workflow from an ease of use standpoint is there. If you use Midas, it's just take one demo for people to say, oh man, it's that easy. Peter, I encourage you to get a demo of it. And we can definitely arrange that maybe online or something. But that's from an ease of use. When it comes to material, we started with 50% in the first generation of 50% ceramic in the first generation. Second generation is right now in Midas, which is 62%. And the next generation that we're really heavily working on for the next couple of months is over 70%. And the data what we see in the past, pretty much right now we have 3 years of data in the mouth, how they're performing. We didn't have debond issue, we didn't have fractured issue. These things are pretty high fracture toughness. The bond strength is similar to glass ceramics. We have data, we have clinical data, independent research to prove that. The bond strength is similar. Again, bonds didn't have debond problem. And the third dimension is wear. And we see these things are wearing. It's not like zirconia that they don't wear. They're wearing, actually, from the early data. I can send you 2 JDP articles, totally independent. They're wearing similar to body, slower than a little, again, in par, or a little maybe faster than glass ceramics, but very in par with the body. I think this is what we're seeing. And this is on the first generation. The third generation that we have on the lab we're testing it's just phenomenal in terms of how they wear. And I think we have been able to master that chemistry on Midas to be able to offer a long-term solution. That being said, it's very hard to change dentists' mind, especially the word lava. Everyone knows about it. And we're very, I would say, conservative approach to convincing dentists. We're not telling him to go place all of your crowns with this. Start very slow. Start with your partial coverage. I think it's already better than the composites you're placing in the mouth for partial or for inlay, onlay. Start with that. build confidence around that. If you still want to do your zirconia from lab with this one, you can do a really, really, really good temporary with it. It's a super long-term temporary. If you want to do again, send it to lab, but test it out. I mean, you know in 2 months, 3 months where the performance is. Build that confidence. That's what we're seeing for doctors who are on the conservative part of the spectrum of dentistry, which a lot of dentists are. But also we have had a lot of success. Doctors are placing hundreds and essentially hundreds and hundreds of them and seeing a really, really good performance in the mouth, from a gingival response to how they essentially respond with tissue to wear to fracture. A lot of people who have a lot of unbuilt crown issue, we see that. Especially if you're working with a specific type of insurances that people don't come back for their final, it's very, very important to offer that same day dentistry. Then we see that's a lot of adoption happening with that category of dentists, and it's a matter of time. I think give it 4 or 5 more years, there's going to be data, and I think the people who are not doing it are just going to be left behind.
I have a question for you, Amir. Is it fair to say that the Midas and the resin is kind of like hardware, software? And if so, was the hardware just better than the software? And initially, is that fair to say? Or is the Midas, do you foresee the Midas having a utility that's like through the next 3 generations or 5 generations of materials that will obviously come, as a better way of looking at it?
Yeah, very good point. Maybe that kind of go back to where mechanical engineers, we focus a lot on the hardware part of things. This Midas is so powerful when it comes to pressing materials. That's why we don't plan to bring another Midas a year or 2 or 3. All of the focus for the next couple of years is on materials and AI. And I think you tested some of our early AI on crown design.
Very
But
early.
I really encourage
We
you
were
to
part of
test
the
it
beta
today.
test.
We just had a major release last week. Partial coverage it's quite there. It's pretty fast. You can design it. The single tooth is also designing it takes 2-3 minutes. It's just fun to play with. The whole AI that we just updated our model like a week ago, and it has been mind blowing how great it has, how far we come from a year
Have you
ago.
made
We
any
didn't have anything
partnerships?
on the design. Go ahead.
Have you made any partnerships in materials yet? I mean, are you still doing your own materials, or are there plug and play, other companies
So
that can work within the Midas infrastructure?
when we started, no one wanted to touch dental 3D printing from a material side of things because it was a very small market. They didn't see a future. All of them bet against them. All of the big material companies had the conversations with them in 2017, 18. So we had to become a material company. We had to build our own expertise for 2 things. One, to convince these guys that these things are here to stay. And 2, we just, you build confidence, and once 1 or 2 of your projects work, you get more confidence, and at some point you believe that you might be actually knowing better than more than these guys. And yes, they're a 100-year-old or 50-year-old material company, but they don't have 3D printing experience. They haven't printed as much as we do. So actually, I went back to one of my PhD professors that I had a composite course in 2012 at USC. Fight onto all the Trojans watching this. So I went to the same professor, and he was at the same time working at Henkel. If you guys know, Henkel it's like
of course, I know.
German 3M. He was formulating composites for Boeing.
That's generous,
Henkel.
by the way, to give him that moniker, German 3M. I don't think they're that big.
Pretty much. Yeah. But overall, this gentleman joined us in 2017, and we started to formulate our own materials. So we've been doing our own, but also we believe Midas specifically is a platform for materials. So we were very open to work with, name brands. We started with Ivoclar. We launched a partnership last year with them. They're working on their own version of Midas formula. But again, we believe it's going to help a lot of dentists to get convinced that these restorations are real, they'll last, and a big brand is behind it. We also announced another partnership with Solventum, or the real 3M, to bring some of their aesthetic, performance, durable composite to the world of Midas. So we're not like open, put whatever you want, because we don't cater to the DIY community. As it's the same thing that you said at the beginning, things has to be predictable. But we work with name brands in terms of bringing those chemistries to the Midas platform, as well as non-Midas platform. The Pro 2 platform, you have access to Keystone resin, Procedure, Ivoclar resins, and all the good stuff.
Let's put on our futuristic glasses for just a second. Do you see a world in 10 years that is still reductive ingots, if you will?
Milling versus
Reductive.
printing.
Milling versus printing.
Yeah. It's I think, again, I'm a mechanical engineer, and first thing I learned in the lab was CNC milling. And they're great technologies. They're materials. They can do metals. They can do zirconia. They're things that they can do that printing just simply can't. Comparing it like that I think is not the best perspective into things.
Okay.
3D printing makes sense when you want to do a lot of mass customization and localization. Probably CNC milling is horrible for localization. There's cumbersome, a lot of moving parts are there. You got to cool it down. You got to change your tool after every shot. It's really not good for a chairside practice, but you want the staff to run it. Again, it's not you guys, Dennis, you make the decision to purchase, but really staffs are the one running these technologies every single day. And in the middle of the day, tell them that replace the coolant or put a new bearing. It's just complicated for localization, in my view. That's why printing makes sense. And that's the reason we're really focused in dentistry, because localization and mass customization, it's just happening in dentistry. It's the only industry that you need mass customized parts at the point of need, at the point of care. It just happens in dentistry. That's why we focus on it. So I don't think if it's going to be one versus another. I think both of them will coexist. What will happen in the next 5 to 10 years, these devices will going to get much more easier to use. The material science will grow, and every dentist should have and will have one of these in the dental office. But whether you do 100% of the work on that machine or you send it to lab, the analogy I use is you all have a kitchen at home. You all have a microwave and a toaster and an oven and everything. But you don't cook every day. It's really, sometimes you cater. If you have a big party, you cater. If you want to customize your food, personalize it, you want to make sure you have the best ingredients, you cook it at home. It's like that. Every dentist will have this technology, but they don't use it for every single procedure. They make the decision what's best for the patient based on the volume, based on the quality. That's what will happen, especially when they get easier and easier, like Midas it is today.
I actually think, though, Peter, just to kind of double click on your question, I think the same day segment of our practices will go to printable. Because I think, obviously localization and mass customization is important, but the key differentiator is the chair time. So when you have, and all these technologies are racing towards the unsintered product where you can just mill it and insert it. And I think the material science will go faster into the printable resins because there's such a wide application. So I actually think that the future, if I was going to bet on one thing, I would say that the future of same-day dentistry, single posterior crowns, is going to live in the printable world. Just look at the barrier to costs as well. I mean, the most simple, cheap mill and oven combo compared to like a Midas type product. I mean, we're talking about a fraction of the cost, right? I mean, what is the basic mill and oven combo price point?
I mean, you're absolutely right. Just the oven is like, $10,000, $15,000 just the oven.
Just the oven
to deliver something.
Yeah,
just the oven.
Right,
Midas
and then the software that goes, all in, nothing else needed.
Yeah, you're right.
So that's a really easy tripping point.
And do you think the standard of care will be chairside or same day?
I think for posterior restorations, the standard of care will be will be same day. I think.
I mean, standard of care. Let's not throw that around because that's a clinical thing versus a convenience thing.
Right. So let's
the
refine
standard of expectation, possibly.
Yeah, very good distinction.
That's a better word.
Thank you for that. Much better word. Standard expectation, yes. Standard of care, no. And what I mean by that is I was having just an open, just honest conversation with one of my doctors yesterday. And as doctors, Amir, this may surprise you, but we base a lot of our clinical guidelines on the temporization need. So if a patient is going to, let's say you have a very difficult patient, they're leaving for 3 weeks and they, we've all done this as dentists. We realize that a temporary can't come off. So we actually are forced to be in a position where we prep more than we'd want based on the retention of a temporary, which is only in the mouth for 2 or 3 weeks. It's all happened to us. So when we have the benefit of not having to deal with a 2-week or 10-day temporary, we can do the very best possible dentistry. So right now, we're forced into limited treatment scenarios because of the delivery of the permanent. And when you have the ability to have a great immediate printable posterior restoration, you have limitless freedom to design the most perfect, minimally advanced, minimally prepared restoration for the patient. And that's what we all want. Every dentist at its core has a healthy respect for enamel. We're taught to fear the loss of enamel in school. We're like, put the fear of God. Like, you've over-prepared. Like, you're shunned. You wear like a scarlet letter in dental school when you've over-prepared a tooth. So I think that standard.
And then you get out and your ceramist says, you didn't leave me enough room. You didn't leave me enough room. And it ruins your day. And then they try to brainwash you. You not brainwash, but you get indoctrinated slowly to
give you a reduction jig to reduce the tooth more.
Just
you're
being
like, well,
a
I
little
can see
heavy-handed.
the pulp. No worries. It's a little blushing. Don't worry about it. Just put a little bit of. So yeah, there's a difficult thing between the material science and the need for reduction, and the material science and the need for retention of temporary. And what's best for the patient is an ability to do same day. When you can do same day, you have no limitations on you. It's better for the tooth. It's better for the pulp. It's better for the patient. It's just a win-win all the way around. So it's a race to the most efficient pathway to get a posterior restoration in as little amount of time as possible.
Yeah, especially pathogenic too,
Meaning what?
Meaning that the temporaries harbor, if you can same day seal, right?
Well, look at the bond strength.
Harbor a ton of pathogens that are destructive to tooth structure.
Well, look at the bond strength. You cut a tooth and bond it in 10 minutes, or you cut a tooth and bond it in 3 weeks. Look at the difference.
Right. Different biofilm. Yeah.
Look at us. We went clinical. I'm proud of us.
Wow.
Cool.
I dusted that off there.
Yeah. You channeled your Peter from 2007.
You know what's funny, Greg? Ironically, my favorite topic in dental school was dental materials, believe it or not. I was like that outlier.
Well, you should have sat next to Amir in school. You would have been a lot more successful.
I could have been co-CEO at this point.
Yeah.
although when I was going to dental school, Amir, like 3D printers was that there wasn't even a word for that. So it was
Peter's first dental handpiece with an egg beater.
It was dot matrix printers is all we had. Dot matrix.
Yeah, Amir doesn't even know what that is. By the way,
he doesn't know to laugh. He's like, "What is a dot matrix?"
He's like, "My mom said something like that a couple of weeks ago. I have no idea what you're talking about." So what about? I remember there was one time that there was a possibility of you guys working with some of the big boys, material wise, like some of the big material dental people. Is that still a possibility? Are we looking forward to some news like that where you may be able to have one of the more iconic and long-standing brands, or is it where
we talked about that with Ivoclar?
Ivoclar, yeah, it's more than a possibility. It's just already done deal that they're working on it. We announced it. I think, but we're really bound by the speed of development of these bigger companies. Again, we're very we're 10-year-old, but we're still operate like a startup, fast and nimble and agile and those kind of things. But some of these companies, rightfully so, they're slow because they're conservative. They need to make sure every box is checked and all this stuff. It takes some time for them to bring a meaningful solution to market. Just that's how they operate. And I came in peace with them when I met them 2 years ago. I said, go ahead.
No, and then you have to stuff it into the Nespresso branded capsule too. So that freaks them out. So it's like, if you could sell the product, you have to put it into the Nespresso or the Keurig capsule for you guys, because it's really like that. You guys have the courage.
Exactly.
Well, Amir, what is
cake
your
up.
entry? We talked about. I'm going to revert back to the person who has not been indoctrinated into 3D printing. What is your base printer cost? The one that can do night guards. What does that machine cost?
We have two categories: digital print, which is for night guards, surgical guide, dentures, all of those categories, and Midas, which is only restorative. If they want to start, I would say slow. They start with the digital print. We only have one model, very simple. The printer is $10,000. There's a cure box that goes with it for another $3,000, and there's a watch for another $3,000. So that's how they start. So
pairing that with your iOS, your intraoral scanner, not your iPhone, is you're in business of night guards now, right? You're
in business side. Of correct, starting from the chair side fabrication, whatever it is.
Yeah, right.
Night guard could be.
Will you have
surgical guide?
You are a big. You're going to have a big presence at the Bulletproof Summit, which we're excited about in a couple of months here. Are you going to have, by chance, any machines to demo? I know I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, you guys are.
Yeah.
You're going to have the Midas and all the
Midas will be there.
Midas is like a Sonos speaker. It's very easy to move it around. Yeah, we'll be running a lot of demos and showing them how.
You haven't seen it, Peter?
No.
It's got basically an integrated handle, too.
I've been head down trying to get this building done, but I got to tell you,
yeah. Well, listen, I'll demo it for you personally at the summit, and I can get, Amir will give me like a free Starbucks card if I sell you one. So I'll get you sold.
I know that Craig talked about when I had to step out for a sec, but Craig mentioned the AI, and I'm guessing that was from a design perspective, right? I think that's one of the pieces of anxiety, meaning if I get this, like, oh, God, I don't want to have to spend 45 minutes designing. Like, we all remember the era, for Serac and stuff like that, where, if you don't do it a lot, it's very time consuming to do incredible design. And I know AI has helped disintermediate that time. And I'm guessing that's a big component of your ecosystem, right? And the path forward.
It's as important as material, almost, I think, equally important, to make the design super easy in a dental office, not for a dental technician who knows their stuff and they've been doing it for many, many years. And we put a lot of focus on it, especially in the past 12 months that Midas came to fruition and we launched it. Our focus has been on restorative for the most part in the past year. But before that, we had a night guard. And a night guard, there's no design. You just input your scan. 2 minutes later, you get the design back. There's really no human interaction in between. You just say you like it or you don't. That's a night guard. For designing crowns, I really encourage Peter, just play with our software. Give us feedback if you like it. We have taken a lot of buttons away and just put it there. You like the margin? Yes. Here's your restoration. And if you want to edit it, you do. But most cases, you don't need it. I think we continue making it easier and easier. But I'm very curious to hear your feedback once you use it.
Yeah, I'd really like you to see it, Peter, from a user interface, the ability to scan with, QR codes. So the material is scanned into the Midas, so you know exactly what you have. So they really just made it idiot proof. They figured out that it's going to be an auxiliary. I love what you said, Amir. Like, I think that the dentist is the one that goes to the trade show, and the dentist is, oftentimes a DIYer, and he's like, oh, this is great. This is so easy. It's only 25 steps, and this is the manual, and you can go online and learn more how to hack it. But then in the reality is you buy this piece of technology, and that's why when you look at eBay, there's so many damn pieces of technology that are sold at a fraction of the original cost, is because the person who interfaces with it is an auxiliary.
100%.
And if you can just take the capsule, scan it, and then have it know exactly what the parameters are, and you don't have to enter anything, and then scan it again into the cure box, then it just makes it idiot proof.
Yeah, the life cycle can be almost the lifestyle production, Craig. I think what you're saying is that it should and can and should and ideally be in the life cycle of the auxiliary, meaning from a scan to a fabrication to a, hey doc, we're ready for delivery.
And if you look at the milling side, the guys who are really, really avid Serac users and really good at this stuff, they are all doing it themselves. I have a buddy of mine in Fort Lauderdale. He does amazing results. Does 10 veneers and 10 units in a day. But I'm watching him because he posts on Instagram. And then you shout out to my buddy Rob. He's awesome, but he's doing it all himself. So if you take his actual dollar per hour production as a lab tech and the chair time, it's a great service to the patient. I'm not throwing shade. It's awesome for everybody, but he'd be so much better off if he had a delegable procedure. It would make the math so much better.
Yes, lack of leverage for sure. Amir, what do you think? Sometimes Craig and I just have a conversation and you have to sit there and listen.
Yeah, I think I see the other side of the whole thing. That's why when we build technology, we really think of dental assistants, not you guys, with all due respect, because it's just, that's another thing that was very humbling early days, offering customer service to the dentists, is that a lot of staff don't want to make it work. They hate it.
Right.
And this is really dumped on them. Figure it out, call this phone number, see how it works. And they didn't sign up for that thing. And we really have seen that in our life cycle of offering customer support, that we have to make sure we can partner up with the staff, because the staff are running it. And if it's not staff friendly, no one's going to use it. So that's a lot of our technology are really developed around that mindset, that docs make the decision and staff run it.
Yeah, we get, like Craig said, we go to trade shows, we see software, we get romantic about that in our practice. We see technology, we get romantic about our practice. And then we get it in our practice and we're like, wait, I don't have the bandwidth to do the software, do the materials. And then it's like, hey, can you do this? And then the staff is like, whoa, I didn't get this wind up like you did. I had no training. And now, so it's, I think, Amir, like you said, there's a ton of friction when new shit comes into our office. Right.
Well, that's a parallel for all forms of dentistry. The docs that are doing a shit ton of Invisalign, if you analyze the common factors in those practices, it's staff driven. Hygienists are enrolling patients, assistants are placing attachments. It's the hack of dentistry. The super productive dentists have maximized the ability of the team to do more work.
Right.
So if you have a really fancy milling machine and amazing exocad software and all this stuff, great. But you better have a badass assistant who's probably not an $18 to $25 an hour assistant, by the way. She's a rogue, lab tech assistant. That can make it work. Or if you're like the rest of us who have labor issues, you need to make it idiot proof. You need to make it simple.
I'm excited to see it, honestly. I really, I'm excited.
Well, Pete, you can see it if you just register August 8th and 9th for the beautiful Ritz-Carlton Resort in Orlando, Florida.
Amir, will we see you there? Craig?
Amir, do you want to go? We can make it work for you.
Where is it?
There's a thing in Florida. It's August 8th and 9th at the Ritz-Carlton in Orlando. You're going to experience something that you've never experienced in your life. It's called humidity.
I thought you were about to say conservatives.
No, actually.
He's out in California.
No. These are not your normal California guys. These are more like these are more
I
like
lived
South
in Malaysia
Americans.
for 3 years, and it's as humid as Florida.
No, the humidity is next level in Malaysia. Oh,
it's next level.
I'd rather be in Florida.
It's just, there are two seasons there. One is like a lot of rain. The other one is not a lot of rain. But it's always humid. I know exactly what you're talking about. Let me work on it.
Yeah, we have two seasons as well. We have January and summer. So, it's the same thing.
Very nice.
No, Ritz-Carlton's beautiful. It's an awesome time. We know we'll have a lot of representation from SprintRay. I want to thank you for your partnership. Thank you for pushing the envelope on making dental software cool.
And honestly, your focus. There probably could have been a lot of easier paths forward for you when you got your PhD, right? But like dentistry needed this, I think, and I think we'll look back and it'll be one of the most transformative changes in our industry for sure, if not already.
It's been a fun journey, and it's fun. Again, at this point, all of my friends are dentists. Every single birthday party I'm invited as dentistry. I never planned to be in dentistry. It just happens, just life. You just follow the path that works. And we're very grateful to be able to serve this industry and to build products. And a lot of people care. They respect innovation. They experiment with you. I mean, this is a lot of good stuff only happens in dentistry. Give you a shot. If you make a mistake, they give you a second chance.
Yeah. Much different than medicine, right? Or like,
much different. Yeah, much different. Good, like selling to hospitals. Like it's impossible to work with those guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hey, Amir, do you know Bruce Feldman at SprintRay?
He's one of us. Yeah, he's
Yeah, let
King
me tell you
Midas.
something. I just want to give my boy Bruce a big shout out. He is freaking awesome. What an asset for your company. You know, he's our rep. He's all over the place. This guy, like, I'm pretty sure, although I haven't confirmed, I'm sure he has a SprintRay tattoo somewhere on his body. He like lives and breathes SprintRay, and he's so good with my team. I just want to give him a shout out. I'm going to try to get him at our summit. Let's get Bruce at the Ritz-Carlton. He
he's
deserves a
brilliant.
Ritz-Carlton
We
trip.
call him King Midas.
King Midas, I love it.
He's got a big beard. He, paint him gold and put on a gold suit. He's awesome. He's very, very passionate about bringing new tech to doctors. There we go. Yeah, Midas.
That's King Midas. My boy Bruce. He's awesome. He looks like he belongs like in an alt indie rock band, but he's just a 3D print guru. So, hey, Amir, I want to thank you for waking up early and for what you're doing for dentistry. I think that it's people like you who are making our profession so great to allow us to give patients better solutions and to push forward in the face of all these difficult things that you guys are lying sleepless with to help us. So we appreciate your endeavor. We appreciate what you're doing at Midas and SprintRay, and want to encourage you to keep pushing to get it perfect for us and keep moving the ball forward so that we can provide revolutionary care to our patients.
Thank you, Craig and Peter. Thank you for having me. It was fun.
Yeah, buddy. Thank you.
Thanks, Pete. We'll see you